Hello everyone, this is a short recap of the movie Troll 2. Norwegian scientists accidentally awaken a stone giant who has been sleeping for centuries. Now the enraged troll is destroying humanity, and someone comes up with the idea to call back the troll from the first film. The film, inspired by Scandinavian mythology, opens with an ancient Norwegian legend about a time when humans and trolls coexisted peacefully for centuries. But when Christianity arrived in Norway, King Olaf the Holy launched a crusade to exterminate the stone giants, forcing a single faith upon the land. Eventually, all trolls were wiped out and faded into myth. This story is told to young Nora Tidemann by her father. Shortly after, her mother stops by the bedroom to sing the little girl a lullaby. The song also mentions the beloved, mythical creatures. 30 years later, paleontologist Nora lives alone in a cabin nestled in a mountain valley, the same place where her father once lived. She receives a visit from an old acquaintance, government advisor Andreas. The visitor invites the scientist to take a ride with him, promising to show her something incredible. A helicopter carries the pair over breathtaking Norwegian mountain landscapes. Their destination? The Vemork hydroelectric plant. During World War II, the Nazis produced heavy water here for developing nuclear weapons, until a successful Allied operation put an end to it with a sabotage mission at the facility. According to Andreas, the power plant explosion was merely a cover-up to hide what this place truly contains. Norwegian researchers have been studying a dormant troll named Jotun in an underground bunker for an entire century. Although the giant remains asleep, he's surrounded by UV lamps simulating sunlight as a safety precaution. Exposure to this light turns trolls to stone. Nora meets Marion Radani, the project director overseeing troll research. She also runs into a familiar face from past events. A young woman named Sigrid, Andreas' slightly pregnant wife. The advisor himself shows his guest a fragment of an ancient manuscript, the original decree from King Olaf the Holy, ordering trolls to be banished from Norwegian lands. Under the pretense of using the restroom, Nora takes an elevator up to the troll's head. At the top, she touches his stone nose while softly humming the childhood lullaby her mother once sang to her. The ancient melody unexpectedly awakens the creature, who opens an enormous curious eye, terrifying his unwitting awakener. Upon discovering he's bound by chains, Jotun expresses his displeasure. A guard at the control panel prepares to activate the UV lamps, but Nora asks them to hold off. It's not every day you get to see a real troll outside of the internet. When her opinion is ignored, she spills coffee on the control panel, causing the entire system to short circuit. The troll breaks free from his chains and knocks the elevator cab, with Nora inside, loose from its moorings. The giant strides through the cave, paying no attention to the tiny humans scurrying at his feet, and punches an exit through the solid rock. After surveying the snow-covered mountain slopes, Jotun turns and heads off in a direction only he knows. Those responsible for the incident helicopter to a military base, where they meet up with an old acquaintance, Chris Holm, who has been promoted to major. Together, they brief the Prime Minister on the national emergency. Another giant troll has awakened and is wreaking havoc across the country. Radani suggests capturing the monster for study, but the head of government orders its elimination to prevent civilian casualties. Command of the operation is assigned to Major Holm, who already has experience dealing with trolls. Chris conducts a briefing for the troops, with Nora and Andreas in attendance. They convince the major to take them along, and he reluctantly agrees. In a hangar housing 2 helicopters pre-equipped with UV lamps for just such an occasion, Radani joins the team. That evening at the Hemsedal ski resort, young people are partying hard. Some are racing down steep slopes on skis, while others are getting down at the local nightclub to pumping beats. The festivities are cut short by Jotun's thundering footsteps. The troll tears off the roof to peer inside the building. While the partygoers film TikToks and snap selfies with him, the ancient beast grabs a few slow-moving tourists for a quick snack. At that moment, 2 helicopters under Major Holm's command swoop in toward the giant. The soldiers activate the UV lamps, inflicting burns across the monster's entire body. Refusing to tolerate such treatment, Jotun rips out a ski lift pylon and uses it like a whip, damaging one of the helicopters. Chris watches as his fellow soldiers wave goodbye, accepting their inevitable fate. The damaged chopper spins chaotically around its own axis, crashes to the ground, and explodes in the middle of the ski slope. The troll looks questioningly at the second helicopter, but Holm, heeding Nora's pleas, chooses to retreat rather than pursue the enemy. While the military clears the crash site and removes the bodies of the fallen, Nora suggests the group visit a potential means of stopping Jotun. They head to the Dovre mountain range, where the first troll they ever encountered awakened several years ago. The paleontologist leads her new allies deep into the cave from which that troll once emerged. Spotting giant stakes with mysterious symbols at the bottom of the cave, Nora explains that King Olaf the Holy once lured the mountain king of the trolls into a trap here, using his own son as bait. Years later, the prisoner managed to escape, but his forgotten offspring remained trapped inside. The woman taps a stone fragment left over from the previous troll, awakening a giant lurking near the rocks, the Mountain King's son. Nora has nicknamed him Handsome. She explains to her friends that she established contact with him long ago through the ancient lullaby, the same one her mother sang to her as a child, and the same one that awakened Jotun. Meanwhile, Jotun himself, moving through the shadows of tall mountains where direct sunlight cannot reach, accidentally destroys a couple's house in Lesja municipality, the very same one that was destroyed several years earlier by another member of the mythical fauna. Sometime later, in a valley on the snow-covered Jotunheimen plateau, Nora fires a signal flare into the sky to attract the stone giant's attention. But no sooner does Jotun approach the audacious little humans than Handsome rises from the snowdrifts where he'd been lying in ambush. The giants roar at each other, signaling their intention to determine who's the alpha here. The confrontation begins with Jotun delivering a powerful kick to the ice, where his opponents stand frozen. The impact cracks the ice, the fracture spreads, and suddenly Handsome plunges into the depths of the mountain lake before he even realizes what's happening. The old, experienced troll has outmaneuvered his young rival through sheer cunning. Our heroes barely manage to escape Jotun's wrath once he realizes these pesky insects are responsible for his troubles. Nora watches him go, gazing sadly at the hole in the ice, all that remains of Handsome. After landing at the nearest base, the team processes what happened and brainstorms their next move. Analyzing Jotun's route, they realize he's following King Olaf the Holy's path, straight to the city of Trondheim, which served as the nation's capital back in those ancient times. Nora understands that the giant seeks revenge against the ancient king for banishing his people and intends to at least destroy his city. The team heads to Trondheim, where they meet Esther Tiller, caretaker of the ancient Nidaros Cathedral, beneath which, according to legend, King Olaf the Holy himself is buried, and from where the church ruled the country after his death. They descend into the temple's basement, navigating by ancient secret symbols, the same kind found in the Mountain King's trap cave. The clues lead the team to a wall bearing an image of Olaf himself. While examining the ancient painting, Andreas accidentally chips off a piece of the fresco, but Esther, instead of scolding him for damaging the relic, notices that the hole is located on the abdomen, right where Olaf received one of his fatal wounds. Studying the painting further, she discovers 2 more holes on the thigh and neck, corresponding to the king's other injuries. With 3 holes to work with, Nora inserts torch handles into them to use as levers. Her hunch proves correct. The ancient fresco rotates, revealing itself to be a concealed door to the legendary monarch's tomb. Inside, they discover a stone sarcophagus, which they open with due reverence. Beneath the massive lid lie the remains of King Olaf the Holy, clutching his silver sword, which is rather strange, since silver makes for an unreliable weapon material. Nora also finds the second half of the missing parchment with the troll decree tucked inside the deceased king's tunic. After sending a photo of the document to Sigrid, the team receives a complete translation of the original text. It turns out that shortly before his death, Olaf realized that trolls had just as much right to live in the mountains as humans, and he ordered that they be left in peace. However, the Catholic Church, unwilling to accept this, orchestrated the king's assassination and then hid part of the document so that they could interpret the remaining fragment to suit their own agenda. Meanwhile, Jotun continues his destructive journey across the country, spreading chaos and panic among ordinary citizens. The government offers evasive and convoluted comments on the situation, reluctant to air the nation's dirty laundry on the international stage. However, neighboring countries are prepared to take action to contain the troll invasion threat. Authorities order the military to evacuate Trondheim's residents before the troll arrives. Nora declares that they can't just give up. The others agree, ready to make a stand against the stone beast. Pondering ways to defeat him, they remember King Olaf the Holy's silver sword. Realizing that the only advantage silver has over iron is its resistance to rust, Nora dips a knife into holy water and brings it to a fragment from the previously killed troll. The blade slices through the stone with ease. Those present understand that Olaf used a silver sword by dipping it in holy water. Like other symbols of Christianity, it proved extremely effective against trolls. Forming a human chain, people draw water from the underground spring near King Olaf the Holy's tomb. The water, like the deceased king, is also holy, Soldiers use the liquid to fill grenade and mortar shells. When the sun, deadly to trolls, sets below the horizon, the people wait in the city center for the creature to appear. Jotun doesn't keep them waiting, emerging from the fog and crushing buildings as he approaches. When he pauses on the riverbank, Andreas, stationed in the bell tower, begins ringing the bells on the major's command, causing the troll agony. Next, the military opens up with a barrage of grenades and mortars. The holy water shells cause burns across the giant's entire body. Fighting through the pain, Jotun hurls an uprooted tree at the bell tower. Then he wades across the river. Holm orders a retreat, luring the monster into a trap. Tanks of holy water with explosives attached sit on the riverbank. Their detonation creates a scalding water curtain. But Jotun withstands even this assault. The flames on his body quickly die out. The team realizes things are looking grim, but then a guttural roar from a second troll echoes through the air. Handsome has returned from his forced swim, looking for a rematch. A battle erupts between the two giants right in the middle of the river, but humanity's would-be savior loses to Jotun once again, who not only wins the fight, but also brings down the bridge. The ancient troll beats his opponent with a bridge support, and when Handsome falls, he stomps down on him, trying to drown him in the river. Andreas suggests using the last container of holy water by throwing it into Jotun's mouth and blowing him up from the inside. For this, he needs pilot Holm's help. In the ascending helicopter, Andreas nearly drops the water canister, but catches it at the last second. The detonator, however, falls and shatters. Now the only way to trigger the explosive is to detonate a grenade next to it. Andreas realizes he needs to jump into Jotun's mouth and pull the pin mid-fall for the plan to work. He asks the pilot to hover over the monster, then calls Sjøgård to say goodbye. Andreas then leaps out, straight into the gaping maw, pulling the pin as he falls. The moment the troll swallows him, an explosion rings out, and the holy water eats away at his insides. The finishing blow comes from Handsome, now conscious, who rips the heart out of his defeated opponent. Nora receives visitors at her secluded cabin, Chris Holm, and Sjøgård with her baby, the daughter of Andreas, who heroically sacrificed himself. And outside, through the snow-covered valley sheltered by tall mountains from direct sunlight, Handsome roams free, living proof that humans and trolls can coexist in peace. And that's where the movie ends.